Nick Reiner, accused of brutally killing his parents, legendary Hollywood director Rob Reiner, and photographer Michele Singer Reiner, isn't just preparing for trial. An expert claims his defense team is already shaping one of the most consequential legal battles Los Angeles has seen in years. And two questions now dominate this case. What could be the courtroom impact of Nick Reiner's attorney, Alan Jackson, rushing to the Reiner family's crime scene just days after the murders? And why might this double homicide not end with the death penalty, despite the horrific allegations? What's really happening behind the scenes? Veteran prosecutor turned analyst Matt Murphy, in an interview to Fox News Digital, shed light on the case that has stunned Hollywood. And here's what he said. Nick Reiner's defense lawyer is no ordinary attorney. Alan Jackson is one of the most recognizable, high-stakes criminal defense attorneys in the country, a man known for taking on cases most lawyers won't touch. Attorney Matt Murphy calls Jackson an immensely talented trial lawyer who is in his prime right now. Jackson recently made national headlines for successfully defending Karen Reed, who was accused of killing her Boston police officer boyfriend during a snowstorm. After two grueling trials, the first ending in a hung jury, Reed was ultimately acquitted of murder and manslaughter. Matt Murphy says Jackson doesn't just win cases, he controls narratives, especially in emotionally explosive trials, and that reputation comes at a cost. He ain't cheap, Murphy said bluntly while speaking with Fox News Digital, adding that Nick Reiner likely has access to funds through family support or a trust. Just days after Rob and Michele Reiner were found murdered, Alan Jackson was spotted at their Brentwood home. That visit sparked intense speculation, but according to Matt Murphy, it was no coincidence and no publicity stunt. It's one of the first rules of trying homicide cases, Murphy explained. As per Murphy, the sooner you can get into the crime scene, the better, even before forensic reports are complete, even before strategies are finalized. Murphy recalled personally visiting murder scenes before bodies were even moved, accompanied by investigators, explaining how seeing the scene firsthand gives lawyers something no police report ever can, a visceral understanding of what happened. He believes this case is absolutely headed to a jury trial, and this is what Nick's lawyer is preparing. Despite the brutality of the alleged killings, Murphy predicts something surprising. Los Angeles prosecutors are unlikely to seek the death penalty, and he's speaking from experience. Murphy previously served on a committee in Orange County that reviewed death penalty cases, and even then, death was recommended in less than 4% of eligible cases. Los Angeles County, he says, is even more conservative. But there's another crucial factor. This is an intra-family homicide, legally known as parricide. Cases involving parents and children, especially those complicated by mental illness or substance abuse, are often viewed differently by prosecutors. Murphy predicts prosecutors will pursue life without the possibility of parole, known as LWOP, the mandatory minimum if Nick Reiner is convicted of special circumstance murder. If Murphy is right, the most intense fight won't be over guilt alone, it will be over Nick Reiner's mental state. Long before the case against him took shape, Nick spoke openly about a troubled past. In a 2016 interview with People, he described years of drug addiction that began in his early teens. He said he cycled through rehab starting at age 15. At times, he was homeless, sleeping outdoors for nights, sometimes weeks. Those experiences later informed the semi-autobiographical film Being Charlie, which he co-wrote. At the time, Nick said he had been home for a long stretch, reconnecting with his family and trying to stabilize his life. Meanwhile, multiple outlets have also reported that Nick Reiner was being treated for schizophrenia before the deaths of his parents. As per Los Angeles Times and KNBC, sources say Nick was prescribed medication for the condition. Symptoms of schizophrenia can include psychosis, disorganized thinking, and difficulty distinguishing reality. Nick Reiner faces 2 counts of first-degree murder in connection with the deaths of his parents, 78-year-old Hollywood director Rob Reiner and 70-year-old photographer Michele Singer Reiner. Prosecutors have also filed a special allegation that a knife was used in the killings, a detail that elevates the seriousness of the charges.
Will be filing charges against Nick Reiner, who is accused of killing his parents, actor-director Rob Reiner, and photographer-producer Michele Singer Reiner. These charges will be 2 counts of first-degree murder with a special circumstance of multiple murders. He also faces a special allegation that he personally used a dangerous and deadly weapon, that being a knife. These charges carry a maximum sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. No decision at this point has been made with respect to the death penalty. We have requested, and currently Nick Reiner is being held without bail. Once the charges get filed this afternoon, Nick Reiner will be then brought to court. He is going through medical clearance, something that everybody who gets arrested and gets held in a Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department jail goes through. Once he is medically cleared, he will be brought to court to be arraigned on these charges. At that point, he will enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. So special circumstances is a situation where one of the enumerated factors that lead to elevating in some ways a first-degree murder case to a special circumstance first-degree murder case occurs. One of those special circumstances is called multiple murders. Here we have 2, and it qualifies under the definition of multiple murders to allege the special circumstance in this particular case.
December 14, 2025, LAPD officers from our West Los Angeles division responded to a death investigation at the 200 block of South Chadbourne Avenue, which is in the Brentwood section of Los Angeles. Upon entering the residence, they discovered the bodies of Mr. and Mrs. Reiner. Detectives from our Robbery Homicide Division Homicide Special Section immediately initiated a comprehensive investigation. The evidence gathered led to the arrest of their son, Nick Reiner, who was taken into custody later that night without incident in the Exposition Park section of our city. Today, the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office has formally filed charges against Mr. Reiner for the murder of his parents. This case is heartbreaking and deeply personal, not only for the Reiner family and their loved ones, but for our entire city. We extend our deepest condolences to all of those who were affected by this tragedy.
Okay, so in terms of how the Los Angeles Police Department became aware, it was a request from the Los Angeles Fire Department, who responded to the scene first. We responded to their request for assistance at the scene of the incident. Our initial West LA officers that responded determined that a crime had occurred, and they immediately notified our Robbery Homicide Division. They've responded, and they have taken over the investigation since that point. He was arrested in a public area, in the Exposition Park area near the University of Southern California campus. He was approached by the officers, and he was arrested without incident. There were no indications that he was going to resist or anything like that. He didn't flee or anything like that. He was taken into custody without issue, and he was transported to our police headquarters facility.